where to go?
At the Grosse Point Road entrance, there's a
So if they came in, we told them to come off Skokie Boulevard, they're not going to find us, right?
there's no signs for Skokie Boulevard. They don't consider that their main. The Grosse Point Road is their main entrance. And
Oh. Okay.
But if they
they'll
come,
drive around.
We'll figure it out.
Anyone who's watching, this is in the menorah section. If anyone's driving over, menorah section is on the northwest portion of the cemetery, more in the middle. So
Yeah.
you go all the way over to Road 1 on the north.
Okay.
That's the correct. So we're broadcasting this. We just started the broadcast. There's 4 devices so far.
Oh, cool. I should probably turn my phone.
Now it's down to 2, but it goes back and forth, and then I would imagine by
Yeah. This is like golf. Like we got a tent yesterday. I was freaking out. Brought umbrellas. It's not going to rain because
of course.
I got it.
Give it another one.
Yeah.
Oh, great, thank you. So you have I understand that there's a good portion of the family or people that'll be here that are Orthodox.
Yes.
So that probably means that we're gonna completely fill in the grave by
Oh
hand.
yeah. This is. You sort of kind of saw half of it when you were on the Zoom call. This has been 3.5 days in ship across.
Yeah, we have to show the
Yeah, it's from him. Yeah.
I gotta check to see if that's looking like
Guys. Hello. Hey.
Yeah, my partner Bill asked me to send his condolences.
Hi, Lena. Mom? You also just put a mask on. Stay here.
Cynthia, do we have any masks in the car?
So is it live? Oh, so it's live now. Oh, okay, great.
Just wanna check on the schedule.
So, Marty, just so there's, I know you came in from Skokie Boulevard.
Yeah.
The sign is at Grosse Point to tell them where to go.
Okay.
But that's the main entrance.
Okay.
So-
We're on line right now.
We're live right now.
Oh, great. I'm low.
Oh,
I love your time. Really nice.
thank you.
I had earlier in the year, I had a young woman who took her life, 32 years old, Jewish, her husband was. They wanted a sage green casket. This is an amazing story. I'm going to take about 2 minutes. So, I actually called, I found one on one of the companies I buy my caskets from. And that was the casket.
So what was the significance of the color?
That was just her phone. So there's a garage sale about a month or 2 ago on my street, and I went over there and they had a ton of ties, I think including this one which I bought for 50 cents, the Giorgio Armani. And there was a sage green tie. So I thought of her father and her husband, and I'm like, I gotta buy this. So I had to buy like 20 ties or so, but in any event, 30 minutes later, her father calls me. Her father-in-law was coming back from Indiana from an REO Speedwagon and got rear-ended by a truck and pushed under another truck. I said, I can't believe you're calling me. I just bought this tie for you. And
So he was killed.
not him, not the father, but the father-in-law. So it was like, and so here.
I need to get to it.
Go ahead.
But that's interesting.
If I find it, I'll show it to you.
Don't buy it from ties.
Yeah.
Oh, the storage is full.
cemetery isn't mandating masks, obviously.
Not outside. Not outside. Just lying down the road.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin the search. Would the grandchildren that are here please step up to the hearse? Kobe, Jen, Shira, Jared, Avi, Merrick, Marissa, Max, Joseph, Lena, and Mitchell. Please come up to the hearse. Okay, we're going to try to lift the casket again. Be careful. Family, please come and be seated up front. The mourners. I need 3 ribbons. Yes. Can I have the children please up front with your spouses? Do you want to tear ribbon or clothing? Ladies and gentlemen, you can make your way into the tent. You can stand out here. However, we are filming this service, so please, if you can, make sure you're not standing in the way of the camera. If anybody requires a mask, you're not required to wear a mask, but if anybody wants one, we have them. Just come up and see us. Here.
Those are good. Yeah, that's good morning.
Die on that. What is the die?
Diane, he's the judge of truth. The true judge. Okay, acknowledge God as the true judge during times of sadness and challenge. When you might doubt that idea, our tradition nudges us in a direction towards acknowledging that God is the true judge. Even at times when we might feel like that's not.
Almost like it's out of our control.
Right, it is.
Yes, it's not almost.
It's like Diane on that God. Okay, you may be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a cell phone, please place it in the silent mode. If you need a mask, we do have them, and please be careful if you don't. Rabbi Jeffrey Weil will be officiating.
There are other seats, friends, if people would like to sit in the second row, there are plenty of other seats. Okay, let's be seated. Adonai, Ma'adam B'Teta Ehu, Ben enosh vatechashvehu. Adam lehevel damav. Yamav kitzel over baboki atzitz v'chalaf. La'erev yimalel v'yavesh. Tashev enosh adaka v'tomer shuvu b'nei Adam. These are the words of the psalmist saying, Adonai, eternal God, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you would even be mindful of us? We are just a breath, our days a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning it shoots up and is renewed, and in the evening of all of our lives it fades and withers. But God, you cause all of us to return unto dust, saying, Shuvu b'nei Adam, return, O mortal ones. Would that we were wise, would that we understood whither we go from here, for when we die we carry nothing with us, not our riches, not our glory. But God, you say, Shmor tam u'r'ei yashar, mark the wholehearted, behold the upright. Those are the ones who shall find shalom, who shall find peace. Friends, we gather this morning to remember one who is tam v'yashar. She was wholehearted and upright. She was loving. She was strong. She was just wonderful. Elaine Wayne. Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach be'etzat r'sha'im u'b'derech hata'im lo amad u'moshav leitzim lo yashav ki im b'torat Adonai cheptzo u'b'torto yehgeh yomam v'layla. The first psalm, happy is the one who has not followed the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the path of sinners, nor sat in the company of the scornful. Rather, that one's delight is Torat Adonai, the Torah of the Lord, meditating on God's Torah day and night. That person will be like a tree planted by Palgei Mayim, streams of water, that yields its fruit in season, whose leaf will not wither, and whatever that person does will find success. Not so the wicked, who are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked shall not survive judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord loves the way of the righteous, and the way of others, the wicked, is doomed and vain. You should have the 23rd Psalm there, which I will read first in Hebrew, and then we can read it together in English. Can you hear me okay with this microphone? Okay. Mizmor LeDavid. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, bin odesha yarbitzeni, almeit minufot yinahaleni nafshi yeshovev. Yancheni b'maglei tzedek l'man shemo. Gam ki elech b'geit salmavet lo irora, ki yata imadi. Shivtecha mishantecha, hema nachumuni. Ta'aroch l'fanai shulchan neged sorai, tishanta v'shemen roshi, kosi ravaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirtafuni kol yemei chaya, v'shafti b'beit Adonai, la'orach yamim. We read together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The third chapter of Kohelet, or Ecclesiastes, conveys this idea that everything in the world, everything in the universe, everything in our lives unfolds at the right time, in a way that it ought to unfold. Sometimes that's a difficult concept to accept, that sometimes things happen in our lives and we don't think, well, this is not the right time for that. This should not have happened at all. We've all experienced those kinds of times in our lives. But like the blessing that we recited a moment ago, for the Kriya, for the tearing, which acknowledges God as the true judge, our tradition guides us in the direction to believe that even when we might doubt it, that the Lord is in charge and has a plan, and that things do unfold in the right way at the right time. a very challenging idea, but our tradition guides us there regardless. L'kol zman ve'et laho chefetz tachat hashamayim, et laledet ve'et lamut, et lata'at ve'et la'kor natua, et lifrot ve'et livnot, et livkot ve'et lishchok, et svod ve'et rakod. For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot that which is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve, a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, a time when we must refrain from our embraces, a time to seek, a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear, a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak. And this is an appropriate time to speak words in tribute of and memory of Elaine Wayne, for memory, for blessing. We're now in the month of Cheshvan. It's called Cheshvan, follows Tishrei, but it's really known as Mar Cheshvan, which means the bitterness of Cheshvan. Mar means bitter, because there is a poignant undercurrent to this month, because it has no holidays. There are no moeds during this time, no gathering times for our people. And this month feels especially empty. Rake, we say, after Tishrei, the preceding month, that was so full of things. When you think about Tishrei, it's almost startling, and in some cases just, sometimes it feels overwhelming with all the gathering times. We have the High Holy Days, followed by the fully joyful Zman Simchatenu, the time of our joy, which is Sukkot, followed immediately by the abundant joy of Simchat Torah, where we rejoice over the Torah. It's extraordinary. And then Tishrei ends and we enter Cheshvan, Mar Cheshvan. It is a Chodesh Reik. It is an empty month, at least of holidays. And now as we gather here during this month of Cheshvan, we feel an emptiness as well. For we have lost someone, you have lost someone who made your lives feel abundant and full. She was a matriarch. She was wise. She was compassionate and kind. She was smart, and she was strong. She was one who drew others in, one who people simply liked being around. And now, after a full and long life, she is gone, her seat empty. Her loved ones remain grateful, but feeling the emptiness and the loss. Elaine Wayne was born Elaine Zellen, only child to Jenny and Max. They lived on the west side near Douglas Boulevard. She primarily grew up behind their dry cleaning business. Elaine was obviously smart, as you know, and Max, her father in particular, encouraged her education. She graduated from Manly High School, went on to study social work at University of Chicago. She had also been involved in the Jewish People's Institute. She started teaching Sunday school. She taught Sunday school as well. She wasn't raised in a particularly religious home, but at a certain point as a young woman, she settled into a group of somewhat more traditional friends. One evening, Elaine, a young woman, she was at a party. She was there with a date, and a man walked in, a stranger, a tall young man. He was probably smiling, and he looked at her, and he thought, without having said a word to her, not even knowing her name, I'm assuming, he said, "That's the girl I'm going to marry." The man's name, Harry Wayne. At evening's end, and Elaine described this just a few days ago to us, Harry somehow finagled his way into the car with Elaine and the date. And when they reached, if I understood the story correctly, when they reached Elaine's home, Harry told her date to stay in the car. Harry would walk her to the door.
Elaine revealed to us that she was not immediately convinced. Who is this man? She wondered. Well, she would find out. She learned, for instance, that he was the kind of man who would pick her up on their first formal date without his wallet. No money. They took a streetcar. I don't know how they paid for the streetcar. They took a streetcar to their destination, and his mother was waiting there at their destination, and I guess gave her adult son some cash so it could be sort of a proper date. Elaine must have found this endearing, amusing, whatever, for they fell in love and they married. Early on, they hit the road. They drove west to California, but that didn't pan out, so they settled for a certain period of time in Texas. Elaine, ever pragmatic, worked. She was selling fuller brushes. When they learned they were expecting their first child, the young couple headed to the security of home that is Chicago. They lived for a time in a house at Whipple and Peterson, and then in 1957 they moved to Skokie, and the Wayne family grew into its fullness. Elaine and Harry, Corky, Marlene, Marty, and Miriam, of course, her memory for blessing. Elaine was the household CEO. She kept things humming along. She did establish a life for herself outside the home as well. She worked a variety of jobs. Early in her career, she had been a social worker for an adoption agency. She would sometimes sell door-to-door Stanley products. She would purchase things and then sell them at flea markets. And she had other interests too beyond the home, to satisfy her social nature, and she was very social. She, and to keep her mind engaged, she played mahjong, and she was part of long-running, decades-long-running book clubs as well. The family of six could get rambunctious at times, maybe more than just at times, but they managed to make dinner a quiet time, and this very much impresses me. They would sit down to dinner once Harry got home from work, and they had their own little sign language game to keep peace at the table. Who could remain quiet? This provided everyone a respite from their own clamor. And then there were the Friday night dinners. They were special. Elaine would prepare a full meal, and everyone would come rushing in. Harry might be the last one to come in. Elaine would call down to him, "Harry, hurry," or "Harry, enough already." And he would come on up, and there they were, the Waynes of Skokie at their Shabbat dinner table. Elaine led Corky and Marlene and Miriam in the blessing for candlelighting. Harry and Marty hummed along. Elaine then kissed each child and offered them her own beautiful Birkat Yeladim, a blessing for the children. She said, "May your mazel always shine." It is truly beautiful. She preferred it, and this represents or reflects Elaine's both respect for tradition by blessing the children, but also her independent and progressive side as well. She preferred it to the traditional blessing of the children because she felt that some of the biblical forebears invoked in that blessing were not something that she wanted to invoke when she blessed her children. It's a nice example of who she was. Harry would then, after the kisses and after the blessing of the children, Harry would then raise his cup to do the full Kiddush. Each week he would stumble over the same words, but he made it through. He blessed, and they had their Shabbat meals. The Wayne family and that household would host lots and lots and lots of meals, holiday meals, for many people over the years. They would invite family and outsiders as well. Elaine was caring in that way. She was kind. She welcomed all sorts of people to their table, like that other matriarch, Sarah, about whom we read in these week's Torah portions. Hospitality, welcoming in strangers. And also, like Sarah, Elaine was fully supportive of her husband's endeavors, his initiatives, his wild initiatives. And it was Elaine who, at a critical juncture in Harry's career, strongly encouraged him to fully pursue one of his inventions, the hand-eye coordination invention. she thought it was important that he and others find good work. She valued becoming one's own boss and so forth. And so Harry took his wise wife's counsel and started doing that, focusing on that. And the business, which was at first housed in their house, grew with inventory and employees. And so eventually pretty soon they found their own space in Northfield, and now Wayne Engineering was really up and running. They were partners, Elaine and Harry, working together here and also traveling all over to shows, conventions, and so forth. In earlier years, Wayne family vacations were fun, but decidedly modest, like the camping trips. Now, Elaine and Harry became enthusiastic travelers, world travelers, for the company, for Wayne Engineering, but also for the family. And they had no more special and preferred traveling companions than their family, which grew and has grown and grown. And Elaine had the task, both a wonderful and blessed task, but also very, very complicated, of scheduling these epic vacations for all of them, for all of your families, with all of your complicated schedules. But they did it. Vacationing in Israel, Cancun, Dominican Republic, and of course in Arizona at the Dude Ranch. Elaine and Harry very much embraced the family as it grew over the last many years. Willie, Laren, Ann, and Mark, and then the grandchildren, Kobe, Jen, Shira, Jared, Avi, Merrick, Marissa, Max, Joseph, Lena, and Mitchell. And the grandchildren in-law, Eliza, Jared, Daniel, Aviva. And I think I counted right, like 12 tribes, 12 great-grandchildren, Shalchevet, Leora, Nisa, Hadassah, Yehuda, Dalia, Micha, Tzvi, Ezra, Hannah, Orly, and Sydney. Did I get them all right? I am glad. That is quite a family. That is quite a family. A lot of simchas in there. A lot of fullness in the whole group. But there has, yes, been sadness and loss and emptiness as well. Harry, of course, passed away a few years ago, his memory for blessing. I'd just like to share something that he told me very close to his last day, right after his birthday, in August. He said something that reflected his almost unearthly positivity, optimism. He said to me, I guess you might say I'm dying, but I feel relatively good. And I think that's extraordinarily positive. And then, of course, the terribly painful loss of Miriam. Elaine, as you all did, mourned, deeply, deeply mourned her passing, the passing of her youngest child. And she would ask over the last few years, that painful but ultimately unanswerable question, why? When she moved to the Carrington, she met many others who had experienced that unutterable loss, the loss of a child as well. Such a sadness, so much pain. Even bearing that sadness, Elaine, these last few years, maintained her own special Elaine spark, that personality which drew all of us to her, including me. I was thinking about it. What was it about her that made people just like being around her? Certain people just have that quality. It was a combination, I think, of her wisdom, her beauty, her kindness and warmth, even the timbre of her voice, which was very special, and also reflecting her Hebrew name, Hannah, her grace. Chaim, grace. All of this and more drew us to her. And this is why she was so beloved. And this is why she will be so deeply missed. She prayed that your mazel would shine, that your mazel would always shine. Her mazel shined. And in you, her loved ones, it always will. Zichrona livracha, may her memory be for blessing. Amen. Marlene.
Boy, Rabbi, you really captured her. That was really incredible. Thank you. Oh my gosh. She would have been so happy and so proud to see her whole family here. It's really amazing, just amazing. And for those of you Zooming, joining us in Zoom, thank you.
37 devices.
Oh my gosh.
That's about another
Wow.
70 people.
Wow. Well, the entire Wayne family thanks you. I'm speaking on behalf of my siblings, Corky, Corinne, Marty, and myself. The three of us worked together into the wee hours of many nights these past couple days, putting our thoughts on paper. We shared stories about growing up together and learned that although our memories might be different, like who did what or where did it happen or who said this, family is about relationships. The rest is just details. And to that point, it's incredible that all of the 11 grandchildren are here today. From Chicago, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Massachusetts, Virginia, and even Israel. Rabbi captured a lot of the stories and thoughts we had for our mom, so you're going to hear a lot of that again. But for us, it was important that the three of us wrote this, and it's from our hearts. Living 95 and a half years gives one an interesting and well-rounded perspective. Our mother, Elaine Wayne, known to many of us endearingly as Bubby, saw it all. She lived through the rigors of the Depression years, World War II, the creation of the State of Israel, the Korean War, the Vietnam protests, the Civil Rights Movement, the lunar moon landing, the Cold War, Watergate, 9/11, Gloria Steinem, not to forget the electronic and the computer boom, and of course, this global pandemic. Living through history explains many of her lessons that she taught us over the years. You have nothing to fear but fear itself. I heard her say that a lot. Don't ever go to bed angry. Make up. Find a passion in life and be sure you can support yourself. And you never know what goes on behind other people's closed doors. And this one I heard a lot. Don't ever assume. Always ask. Despite all that she had lived through, our mom was a kind and compassionate woman. She lived her life putting one foot in front of the other, forward moving, leaving the harsh past behind, never a complainer, always positive, focusing on the good in every situation and focusing on the good in every person that she met. She kind of lived a rags to riches type of life. She didn't strike gold, but she did strike it rich in her own way, in the richness of her family and her life. Born in 1926 on the west side of Chicago, to Jenny and Max Zellen, she grew up living in the back of the tailor shop, as the rabbi told you. She was an only child. Her parents, Jenny and Max, were hard of hearing. Needless to say, the conversations that took place between the customers and her parents were loud and difficult to ignore. She heard everyone's personal problems, so she spent years listening and learning from all those stories of tragic and woe from their customers. Perhaps this explains why our mother, as a student at the University of Chicago, earned her bachelor's degree in social work. Her parents did eventually move to a real apartment because they felt it wasn't right for the young men to pick her up for a date at their tailor shop. It so happens that one of those young men was our beloved dad, Harry Wayne, of blessed memory. Different from any of the other boys in her crowd, he swept her off her feet with his brilliant, inventive mind. Our dad was an electrical engineer genius. Engineering was a new and burgeoning field. Little did she realize that together, hand in hand, Harry the inventor and Elaine the social worker would build two mighty empires. One, Wayne Engineering, incorporating many of our dad's inventions and turning them into a business. And the second empire, us. Corky, myself, Marty, and our beloved Miriam. In 1957, as pioneers, we moved from Chicago to Skokie. Later, when I asked her how, of all places, she chose Skokie, her explanation was simple. Many young families she knew were moving south, and she took a chance and chose north. It was just luck, she said. And this luck became coined as her favorite phrase, the Wayne Mazel. The Wayne Mazel was our invisible security blanket cloaked around us, helping us face the impossible. Whenever we doubted ourselves, she would comfort and empower us by saying, "Don't worry, it will all work out. You have the Wayne Mazel." Most of the time it did work out. How powerful is that? What are the riches I referred to earlier? Well, our mom was very well read, always up on current events and world opinion. Over 70 years ago, she joined a book club, and 20 years ago, joined a second one. Some of these women remained her closest and dearest friends all throughout her life, friendships that were golden. To help quench her constant thirst for knowledge, she spent days in the library searching for her book reviews, adding richness to her life. Our mom was a woman ahead of her times. She believed in equal education for boys and girls. She read us poetry every night. Music lessons were a must. She was total hands on our upbringing. She took up aerobic exercise, became a proponent of vitamins, prepared hot, nutritious meals every day. Desserts were saved for Shabbat dinners, but her favorite was that hot fudge sundae that we would have on all of our family celebrations. She introduced us to every single unusual fruit and every different kind of meat she could find in the kosher butcher shop, from London broil and duck to brains and sweetbreads. Every meal had fresh vegetables, never fried or breaded foods, and you couldn't find a salt shaker in our house if your life depended on it. Our mom was not pretentious. She never felt she had to keep up with the Joneses. As a preschooler, or as a grade schooler, I once told her that I wanted a house key to wear around my neck like all the other neighborhood kids. Her response was, "A key? Why? We don't lock our doors. Burglars won't be coming to our house. We don't drive a fancy car. I don't wear a mean coat or flashy jewels. They know there's nothing in this house to take." We disagreed. Our home was filled with love and support and mutual respect and all the richness, golden goodness, and pearls of wisdom that two loving, devoted parents could ever bring to our boisterous, fun-loving, and stable home. We did have the riches, but they could never be stolen from us. She was proud of her Judaism. As a teenager, she taught Sunday school and was well-versed in Bible stories, which we would hear often. My parents joined Niles Township Jewish Congregation in 1960 because, as she put it, it was important that my daughters be called up to the bima for their bat mitzvah. That was unheard of for young women back then. A true feminist in a quiet way. We were raised in a kosher home filled with the richness of Shabbat dinners and holiday traditions and with all the trimmings and guests. Talk about riches. Our Passover Seders and Rosh Hashanah dinners grew from our family of 6 to quickly including relatives, neighbors, friends, fellow congregants, and eventually our spouses and their families. How rich and proud we felt. My mom often commented on how her 4 children found just the right life partners for themselves. Was that the Wayne Mazel at work? With the closeness and mutual respect she felt for Willie, Laren, Mark, and Ann, and they felt for her, it was as if they were her own children. These were relationships she cherished. Our parents cultivated our sense of family. They saw to it that despite our differences, there was mutual respect and admiration, and everyone actually liked each other. We still do. Our dad may have been the inventive one, but he was our mom. It was our mom that was at the helm, that drove and powered the Wayne family ship. She managed their financial affairs, gleaning financial knowledge and advice from her investment guru, a weekly radio show. She made it happen. Throughout their life, they were a team, not only on the dance floor, as we saw them at all the weddings and the barn bat mitzvahs. We loved watching them dance, but also working together using their varied and different strengths to complement each other and make it work. Like the cogs in a well-oiled machine fitting together in all the right places at all the right times. They drew strength from each other and worked well together as synchronized dancers, together through life in their business and in their worldwide travels. And most importantly, they showed us and taught us what an equal and loving partnership is like, one with mutual respect and open two-way communication. We lost our dear father 4 years ago at the age of 97, and our beloved sister Miriam 3 years ago. And despite the fact that she never really recovered from these two great losses, our mom remained strong. 2.5 years ago, she bravely moved into the Carrington in Lincolnwood, where she started a new chapter and made new friends. It was not unusual for a resident to approach any of us just to say, "Your mom is such a nice lady. We all want her to sit at our table." It's no wonder we feel so rich. As her health started to decline, she gradually gave up her active life of mahjong, daily exercise class, chair volleyball, and lectures. Eventually, we hired her devoted caregivers, Mila, Rowena, Marilyn, Lyndon, Maria. Thank you for your skillful care, loving our mom and keeping her safe and comfortable. Would Bubby want us to be sad? Yes, of course, but not to stay sad. She told us to go on living and loving with all the riches she embedded in our soul. She lived a long life, a rich life, leaving an incredible legacy. The 11 grandchildren, the 12 great-grandchildren, and counting. If you live long enough, she would say. On Monday night, October 11th, at 95 years young, on the exact same date our dad passed away, the TV show Dancing with the Stars was playing in the background. We were all there in her apartment. We believe that our dad entered her room, picked her up, and together with Miriam, brought Bubby home. All three together at last, dancing with the stars. We couldn't have asked for a better closure. May we all be blessed to have mazel and riches in our lives. Thanks.
Jen and Shira.
Hi, guys.
This past Wednesday night, the grandkids Zoomed to share stories and reminisce about our memories with our beloved Bubby. What is there to say about a woman who, in our eyes, was the epitome of a loving, caring, incredible grandmother? A woman who gave us endless love, attention, and wonderful memories. As we reminisced, one theme that kept coming up was how Bubby wasn't just our Bubby. She was really everyone's Bubby. All of our parents, friends, and our friends knew her personally. They not only knew her, but they remembered her and referred to her as Bubby. When we sat down to write this eulogy, we thought of all the things we loved and will miss about Bubby. We could have stood up here with tears in our eyes, which we are, recounting how truly amazing she was. But we decided that's not what we wanted to do, and more importantly, that's probably not what Bubby wanted us to do. So instead, we are going to share what it was really like growing up as one of Bubby and Grandpa's grandkids. And the best way to illustrate this is to take a walk down memory lane to a typical family gathering at Bubby and Grandpa's house through the eyes of the grandkids.
Okay. The gathering is called for 4 p.m. You arrive at 5:30, proud of yourself for being on time. You walk past Bubby's beautiful flowers and plants and think about which birthday, holiday, or Mother's Day she was gifted those on and by which daughter or daughter-in-law. You ring the bell and yell, "Hello!" through the mail slot. Then you let yourself in, realizing that their door is wide open because their door is always wide open. As you walk in, the smell of chicken soup, homemade gefilte fish, and that distinct Bubby and Grandpa house smell immediately hits your nose. We all know that house smell we're talking about. You pass the 2 front closets, reminding yourself Bubby's fur coat will make the perfect hiding spot for the evening's game of hide and seek. Later in life, you might fight with Bubby about her having a fur coat, as she was always up for a passionate debate. Then you remember the other amazing hiding places at their house, like behind the TV cabinet, behind the big plant, and the long white lace curtains, which you will probably use as a napkin while you're hiding behind them.
As you enter the kitchen, you pass by 4 pots, all bubbling away, and stacks of mail on the kitchen counter. On the table is a half-cup melon, cans of olives, dates, nuts, her book club book, and the yard site glasses the kids will drink out of at dinner. There's itineraries for upcoming family trips, graduation trips to New York and Canada, Israel, Mexico, Arizona, Dominican Republic, all opportunities for us to spend more time with each other. There's every single newspaper article with any mention of anyone even remotely connected to the family cut out of the JUF News. A calendar with dates and times of Lena's plays, Max, Mitchell and Merrick's baseball games, Marissa's cheerleading competitions, or Avi's Chumash ceremony. There's our letters we sent years earlier from overnight camp. Of course, the soon-to-be sent birthday cards stacked in a pile, which Bubby will sign with 3 squeezes and will want to know exactly what we bought with the birthday money. And of course, if we tell her we bought clothes or shoes, she'll respond with, "May you wear it in the best of health."
The minute Bubby sees you, she stops whatever she's doing to say, "Hello, Dolly," and gives you a big hug and kiss. She's wearing her gold necklace with all the grandkids' names proudly displayed. The house is warm and also loud, very, very loud. You immediately join in the chaos. Kobe steals Jared's shoes and pulls the ultimate hat trick, throws them down the laundry chute, of course. Everyone dashes down what we have to agree are the world's most dangerous stairs, each one creaking beneath our feet and harmonizing with our laughter. In the basement, the comforting Bubby and Grandpa house smell is even stronger, and really, we all agreed that this was the smell of our childhoods. It's discovered the shoe has fallen behind the clean stack of folded laundry. All the grandkids promptly knock over the clothes and throw them about as we race to find the shoe and be the winner. Bubby swings that top basement door open and comes downstairs to get the fancy silverware and sees what we did to her clean laundry, but she doesn't get mad. Instead, she's genuinely happy to see us all together, because Bubby was always happiest when we were all together.
Bubby and the adults begin setting out the food in the basement. It's all brown and has no salt. You hear Mark or Aunt Miriam yelling down the stairs to Jen and Shira, "Who's supposed to be watching Lena and Joseph?" Bubby reminds you that you need to pick a date to go with her to the yarn store so she can start making your college blanket. You continue racing around the house, past the pictures in the dining room where you catch someone trying to decide who they will cover up with their own graduation picture. Past Ginger peeing in the corner of the living room. Past Uncle Willie asleep on the couch. Past great aunts and uncles and second cousins and neighbors. Bubby and Grandpa never discriminated for Wayne events. Anybody and everyone was invited, no matter if they were true family or just pretended to be. Their door was always open.
You decide to explore Bubby's closet, likely pulling down every shirt hanging up as you push your way to the back. Another cousin jumps into Bubby and Grandpa's bed, hides under the covers, eating a cookie. You look over at Bubby's nightstand and see a stack of nickels you know she's keeping to give you another day. You poke your head into Grandpa's office where someone is looking around for cool tools and possibly some inappropriate items. Now you make a quick stop in the bathroom, pink or blue, we all had a favorite. Then plunk at the piano. You and Bubby start practicing for your upcoming piano recital together. She is the only grandma we have ever heard of doing recitals with her grandkids.
It's 8 p.m. and Uncle Marty finally shows up. He's obviously wearing his Cancun shirt. Meanwhile, people from Corky and Willie's show stop by to say hi to Bubby and Grandpa, just as Corky runs out the door to look for Ginger. You hear Bubby sitting on the couch giving marriage advice. It's the woman's job to change the man into who she wants. Find someone who has similar values to you, someone who knows family is important. A real doctor would be nice. Then you see her trying to turn on the lights in the dining room, which Grandpa had fixed, and she would never figure out. You hear shrieking from the kitchen, where you find Jared and Kobe smearing whipped cream on Marissa's face, which they then use as evidence to convince our parents to let us take one of Bubby and Grandpa's famous bubble baths. But it's almost 11 p.m. now, and our parents have already been trying to say goodbye for 2 hours in the basement. They come up to the kitchen and continue to say goodbye. 20 minutes later, Grandpa remembers that it's time for a family picture. So we all gather in front of those chocolate-stained white curtains for another 20 minutes. Finally, you get to the driveway, where you continue to say goodbye for another hour before driving home.
And now, today, we are here to say a final goodbye. We have spent the last year saying goodbye to Bubby in our own ways, through phone calls and visits to the Carrington and FaceTime, watching the Bubby of our childhood get older. In a way, the past few years have been the longest, most Wayne-esque goodbye of all. But it is also the hardest, because Bubby is the one who created the love and warmth that made our childhood memories so special. She built our family and kept our family together, making sure age and distance and different religious views don't keep us apart. She didn't care if we ruined her curtains, got crumbs in her bed, threw around her clean laundry. What she cared about was that we were all together. She knew what was important to care about and when to let the little things go. She taught us what really mattered. Family, 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 a little Judaism, and more family. Bubby, you always said the Waynes have mazel, but we know that having mazel isn't enough. The real mazel in our lives is having each other, and we have each other because of you. Your legacy, your unconditional love, your fierce devotion to family, your generosity and inclusivity will live on in us, your 11 grandchildren, and 12 and counting great-grandchildren. You gave us a family to always be there for us, and that is the greatest gift of all. That is our Wayne mazel. Thank you for being the best Bubby we could ever ask for. Wherever you are now, may you have good mazel, and may your mazel always shine. 3 squeezes and Lila Toast.
Thank you. That was a wonderful, immersive experience into the Wayne home. So and family. Thank you so much. Lidah hi reshit, uftira tachlit, hachaim kamasahem, tahalicha, smicha, v'shalav v'shalav. Birth is a beginning, death a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage. And now the full, long, beautiful, loving journey of the life of Elaine Wayne has now come to its sad conclusion. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of Elaine Wayne, for you keep faith with your children in death and in life. Sustain all of us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead for us, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, will be with us as a loving friend in whom we put our trusts. You, God, are the light of our lives, our hope in eternity. Please rise for the El Malay Rachamim. El Malay Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim U'Tehorim, Kezoha HaRakia Masirim, and Nishmat Chanarai Tzvat Yisrael Mordechai Ushena, Shahalcha Le'olama, B'Harachamim Yasirecha B'Seter Kenafaha B'Olamim, V'yitzur HaChaim et Nishmatam, Adonai hu nechalata, tanuach b'shalom, al mishkavav, v'nomar. Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence with the holy and the pure, who shine like the glow of the heavens, to Elaine Wayne, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence and within the shadow of your wings. Let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And we say, Amen. You may be seated.
Yeah, I gave it to him.
He did. Ose shalom bimroma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ose shalom bimroma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael.
We had up to 40 devices online. There was a couple of times that I think the bandwidth got taken up and it showed just a few seconds, but I immediately started recording and I'll upload that. They're going to say so if there was anything that was missed, it was only a few seconds here and there, and I have a backup of everything. But I would
customary to put earth from the land of Israel into the grave of a Jew. This is from Hawes 18, from the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. This custom really ultimately represents the Jewish firm belief in a better future for all of humanity.
Shalom. Elaine Wayne went to her eternal home. Shalom. Amen.
I think it's very fitting when it starts to rain like this, because it's sort of like the heavens are praying. I do believe we're about to get a lot more. So it's not going to, I don't see any lightning, but I think everybody should understand that there is going to be some rain coming through here in just a couple minutes. So when we do the shoveling, if we can, we'll do it a little quicker. If we have to, if for any reason it gets really bad, we'll stop. But I do think we're about to get some more.
Ask the family to come forward first. The family to come forward. It's customary to put 3 measures of earth into the grave. It is also a couple of traditions associated with that. Number one, some people choose to use all 3, or one of the 3 to use the back side of the shovel to demonstrate that this is no ordinary filling in of a grave, but a sacred but also reluctant act. So you can use the back of the shovel, if you like, for 1 or 3 measures of earth pushed into the grave, and also to put the shovel back into the mound of earth for the next person as an affirmative act to take the shovel for her or himself, and then we will continue to fill it in the grave until completion. Okay, so family, please come forward, and then others can join as well. Right now there are 2 shovels. We will have more. I see there are flowers as well. You can go on either side of the mound of earth. You want to do it together? So Marty and Marlene want to join Turkey?
You wouldn't be the first person in my career to go in, but that was a rabbit actually.
Others are welcome to come forward too, please.
Folks, feel free to also take this other shovel and just walk around the person or toss it over their shovel.
I'll be watching it. Very good. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Well, something that's so beautiful in my ears.
Yeah, they're gonna.
I've done a lot of funerals for Holocaust survivors and trying to compile those. And I'm going to have a lot of eulogies for survivors. And kind of have rabbis do a collection for eulogies of survivors and kind of commission for budgets and
We have a funeral on Monday for
first survivor.
We can help you in any way.
Yes, thank you. Deja vu, I like that.
What is this?
This is fun. This is good. That is good. So you were with brother?
Exactly.
You were really,
Yes.
Are you doing these?
We do that, yeah.
Just give me a card.
We actually done
Rabbi, you're in
two
front of the camera.
funerals.
I keep having outages. Yeah, it's been real consistent for a long, long time. A couple times today a purple screen came up. Yesterday at wall time, it actually said reconnect. I do it through YouTube. So, I mean, have you done these?
Yeah, we've actually done a couple of little times.
Because I'm not a videographer, I'm a funeral director,
Right.
and I've had to learn this on the fly.
I'm trying to remember your name.
From Lloyd Mandel.
Of course, we did our my father's one of them. Thank you, Art.
I met someone else who does what you do. He was a member of Paul's Zeta.
Okay.
That's not really.
Yeah. So you actually use a real camera. That's what opens all that. There's a real picture.
It's amazing what these do. but things happen like that comes loose.
Yeah. And we tend to use Zoom because it's where people on outside can also participate.
I don't like that.
Really?
No, I do it on YouTube and I embed it with the embedded code and I put it on my website.
That makes sense.
And people can't. Now, if someone wants to speak, I actually have times where I schedule Zoom and oh yeah. Oh, I played. I'll be there in 2 weeks. I won my suit.
It's the only clothes we have.
Good suggestion.
She's at one of the Yes, yes. Yeah, this is part of my thing. I can do it a lot, but see, it's small. I really appreciate it. Yeah. So for those of you who have a read Siddur Kadin, and then can I have your attention? We'll read Siddur Kadin, and then we'll do Mourner's Kaddish, and then the Shura, and we'll ask those of you who are here to support the three mourners in particular to form a row, not yet, but after Kaddish, and they will walk through that row, and we'll offer them traditional words of comfort and personal words of comfort as well. Hatzor tami palo yichol derachav mishpat el emunah ve'ein avel tzadik v'yasharhu hatzor tami b'chol po'al mi yomar lo matif al hashalit b'mata ma'al memit v'machayeh v'rit sha'ol v'ya'al hatzor tami b'chol ma'aseh mi yomar lo mata aseh tzadik atah Adonai l'hamit l'chachayot asher b'yadcha pikdon kol ruchot chalila lecha zichronenu nimchot Yu na inecha barachamim aleinu pikuchot. Ki lecha adon harachamim v'haslichot. Who can say, what will you do? You are righteous, O God, in your dealings in death and in life, and every soul is in your trust. Does everyone, those who need Mourner's Kaddish, do you have it? Do you have it? Okay, so whenever you're ready. Ready? Yeah. Yitgidal v'yikdash shemei Rabbav ve'ama divrach yurtei ve'amlich malchutei ve'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael va'agala u'bizman karib imru amen Yehi shmei Rabba bebarach la'alam l'mei amayam Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh Yit Hadar, Yit Dalev, Yit Halal, Shemed Kudasha, Barichu, Ba'ela Mikol Birchata, Bashirata, Tushbechata, Benechamata, Damiran, Be'amat, Imru, Amen. Yehi Shlam Rabba Min Shmaya, Be'chaim Aleinu Be'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Amen. O Seh Shalom B'romav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Be'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Amen. I'll ask everyone but the three children, Corky, Marlene, and Marty, to form, maybe if their spouses and others want to be with them, that's fine, to form two rows, two lines, moving away from the grave site.
Let's do one line over here, another line over here.
We go right here.
Sort of at an angle maybe, like here. Everybody, please come and form another line over here.
Do you need more people near Lloyd?
Some more on this side, please. Come over on this side, please. I need you to step back a little, please. Okay. Please go over here.
Hamakom Yinefemetem, Ketoshav Yisrael Yisrael. May God console you with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem.
Would you like to say goodbye to the people that are online?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for everyone who's
joining
watching.
us. And thank you for your support and your love and your continued love. Appreciate it.
Do you want to say something to the people that are online?
Thank you for your kindness, your love, and This is
I know you're out there. We feel your love. We feel your embrace. Thank you, everyone, for all of your support and for being there for us now and at all times. Thank you.
Is it hard?